faith, family, freedom, hope, and opportunity. You're listening to Freedom Rings. I'm your host, Senator Marsha Blackburn. Welcome to another podcast of Freedom Rings. And today, how delighted I am to have a very special guest. He is truly a champion for our conservative values. He's a strong defender and a fighter, and his name is Herschel Walker. And you're going to recognize that name. He has had an enormous career in football. He was at the University of Georgia, was a standout, and then on to the NFL. He is also a successful businessman. He has been a Donald Trump supporter and was appointed chief of the President's Council on Sports, Fitness, and Nutrition. And one of the things that I so appreciate about him is he has made mental health and awareness of mental health an issue that he has put so much focus on, not only for athletes, but also for our veterans. Now, it is thrilling for many of us to hear that Herschel is running to be his home state's senator. And he is just going gangbusters in this U.S. Senate race. Herschel, welcome. We're delighted to have you with us.
Hello there, and thank you for having me on. And thank you for your endorsement as well. That means a great deal. And I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you.
Well, absolutely. And I think it is so admirable that you have chosen to bring your talent and your advocacy and your awareness to the political arena. And I know you're doing this because you love Georgia, and Wrightsville, Georgia is where you grew up. So talk a little bit about growing up in Wrightsville and then how you ended up over at the University of Georgia and on the football team.
Well, growing up in Wrightsville, it's a little town. Not too much goes on there. And, I used to have a speech impediment, and I also was overweight. My mom said I was big bone, but I was a little bit overweight. But what was strange is I started working. My life changed. I got a chance to get a scholarship to go to college, and I ended up flipping a coin because I really wanted to go to the military. I really love our military, and I always have thought that they were the reason that we're the greatest country in the world is we got the best military in the world. So I wanted to be a part of that team there, but I got the chance to go to college, and I went to college, and it's funny, by going to college, I got a chance to play in the NFL for about 15 years, got a chance to be on a 1992 Olympic bobsled team and do some things that no kid would ever get a chance to do except if you go out and work at it. And that's why I tell kids every day today, whatever you want in life, you got to work to go get it. And I feel that I'm one of the America's dream, to come from a little town that I've came from, to be plucked out of that little place, to get a chance to travel all over the world and see and do some of the things I've done. I think I've seen that America's dream come true.
Well, indeed, I think you have. And I like to say that in order to defend the American dream, you have to have lived it and you have to believe in it and the power that is there. One of the things I've heard you mention when you speak, Herschel, is talking about the importance of opportunity in the lives of our young men and women. Touch on that for us.
Well, one of the things I say is in the United States of America is the only way you can find that dream. And that means that you have an opportunity as long as you're willing to work at it. I'm not going to say it's going to be easy because nothing is easy in life. But if you're willing to work and put the time in and sacrifice, that's one of the major things you have to do is sacrifice. Most people want to get to the destination, but they don't want to travel the journey. But in the United States of America, as long as you're willing to put the work to and get out and work, you can get there. You can accomplish some amazing thing. And I believe it. And it can only be done in this country here. That's the reason I love this country so much. That's the reason I want to fight for this country and have every kid in America to have an opportunity to find that America's dream. I want every kid to be able to have an education. I think the education is an equalizer, but you got to be willing to work and don't think it's going to come easy. And I think that's the problem is today we raise our kids thinking everyone gets a trophy, but they don't. People have to work, and because it's so competitive in this world today, it's harder, but it's more gratifying when you do accomplish it.
Well, I think that is so true. And once you start opening doors of opportunity, other doors will open. Now, you're one of the greatest college football players we have ever had in this country. Your achievements are known, but few people know that you're also a mixed martial arts expert, as well as being a bobsledder, an Olympic bobsledder. So, what drove you after you walked through those college football achievements to move on and open other doors?
Well, I think that in life, sometimes you really don't know what you are until you get out and start working. Sometimes you want to do this, but as you're working, you see that you're better at something else. Well, going into the Winter Olympic 92 Olympic team, I found out that I can push a sled. But one thing I found out also that you representing the greatest country in the world, the United States of America, and I was no more prouder than to represent the United States of America, coming from such a small town. But then, because I was bullied a great deal, I wanted to defend myself. So early on in my career, I started learning started learning martial arts. And then I learned martial arts had nothing about fighting. Martial arts was an art. It talks about self-confidence. It talks about self-defense, but not really fighting. And that made me, I think, become more disciplined in my life. And that helped me to overachieve because I think, and I continue to talk about work. I talk about work because that's what I tell all young men and women. If you want something, you got to work at it. You got to try. You can't try by sitting on the couch watching TV or talking on your iPhone or going out on dates. And you have to sacrifice if you want it. By sacrificing, meaning you have to give up some things. And the ones, the ones that not giving it up, going to be the ones that are going to lose. And as long as you try, I think you appreciate what you're going to end up with.
Well, I completely agree with you on that. And indeed, you have disciplined yourself to the point that you can work through these different areas of accomplishment and excel in each of them. Talk a little bit about your business.
Well, it was strange because, I majored in school. I wanted to be a police officer. I wanted to go to maybe the FBI Academy. And so I went to college thinking that that's what I end up doing. But because football sort of cut some of that short, and I ended up playing in the NFL, I started a little food service business. And I sort of started it by mistake, but I kept working, and it was tough. It was very tough, and I had help, and that's one reason I say you always got to reach back and help other people because I had people to help me, and I started this food service company about 22 years ago, and today it's one of the largest minority-owned food service companies in the United States of America, and it's only because I had help. So I learned how to create jobs. I learned that you got to give back. I learned how to help build small businesses. Those were little things that I learned on my way up. And that's why I said I think that's going to play a big asset to me because I know how to do those things.
And as you're looking at the Senate race and coming to the Senate, what issues would you like to focus on with your work here?
Well, one of the major issues I like to focus on more than anything is trying to get the border straightened out. I think right now we don't know who we got coming into this country. I think you understand what I'm talking about. And because of we now have the border wide open, it affecting so many things in this country. One of the things I continue to ask a lot of people when I'm doing my listening session that deals in law enforcement, they talked about the border being wide open. They have to work with drugs. Fentanyl is coming into this country. Fentanyl is so powerful, it's killing a lot of American citizens. We have drugs coming into this country. We have a lot of human trafficking. And a lot of people don't know in the state of Georgia, 70% of the drugs crossing the border comes through Atlanta, Georgia. So that's something I love to get under control. And then, I think we got to fund our men and women in blue and not just fund them. Because that's what they talked about funding them now, but we got to have their backs, because right now they got to put confidence and trust back in our elected official. When you go out and defund a organization like we did with them, they're not going to trust us anymore. So you got to put the trust back in them, that they trust us and stuff. And I think a major issue I love to see done, because my great friend Tim Scott talks about it, is education. I think education is the equalizer to a lot of things that we can have done. And once you educate a kid, give that kid self-worth. That kid know how to work, he know how to go out there, and he know about his faith. So he's going to go out there and get the job done.
You are so right about that. And I know that people are going to want to keep up with what you're doing with all of your advocacy work, with your campaign for Senate. And they're going to find you on Twitter and on Facebook at Herschel Walker. So thank you so much for joining us today and sharing a little bit about your story. We are thrilled to have you with us and wish you well as you go through this campaign, and wish you well as you continue your career. Thanks so much, Herschel, and thank you to each of you for joining us for another segment of Freedom Rings. Thank you for listening to this episode of Freedom Rings. You can follow me on Twitter at Vote Marsha, Facebook at Marsha Blackburn for Senate, and on Instagram at Team Marsha. And you can always find us online at marshablackburn.com. The Freedom Rings podcast is edited and produced by Jared Cummings. Executive producers are Conservative Partnership Center and Marsha Blackburn. Together, we make Freedom Ring.